Hey everyone, this is Finity with Reality Skewed Gamers coming at you with another tutorial video. This one is for Heroic AAT Phase 2 with clones. Now, clones may be the best squad to use in Phase 2. They actually turn out to be a little bit better in Phase 4, but if your guild needs you to use clones in order to help them get over the Phase 2 hump, because a lot of people don't have droids, which is probably the second best squad to use in this phase, then you will want to use clones and make sure you know how to use these. Now, the mechanics of these are going to be similar to what is done in Phase 4, and I'll make a different video for that. But just keep in mind that the mechanics and what you would be doing are roughly the same between the two. So, let's go ahead and start with some of the basics. Okay, so the main kind of centerpiece of the entire clone squad is going to be with a Zeta Cody lead. Now, the Zeta Cody lead gives you a 30% crit chance to all of your clones. Now, that becomes critical as we move forward, so you'll see that with his next ability. But the 30% crit chance is really important, as well as the last part, which is that the clone allies recover 5% of their max protection whenever they use their basic ability. Now, I'll show you where this comes into play a little bit more, but the key is going to be the 212 attack. Now, the 212 attack will call all clone allies and one random ally to assist. And these attacks, while they deal less damage, each time an assist critically hits, the cooldown of this ability reduces by 1, and it's a 6-turn cooldown normally. Now, keep that in mind as we go through kind of the next few slides before I show you the replay, but the 212 ability is going to be the critical factor for this particular attack. The other character that plays an important role is Echo. Now, Echo is one of those interesting characters with unique abilities that actually mimic a lead ability. There's a few of them in this game, and they're really useful when you put them in the right squad. So if you look at Echo, Echo has a unique ability called Follow Up, which is whenever another ally uses a basic ability, Echo has a chance to assist them, dealing less damage, but the assist chance is doubled for an attacking ally that is a clone. Okay, so that means it's a 60% chance now for a clone ally using a basic attack to call Echo for an assist. The other unique ability he has is more of a lead ability, which is that clone allies recover 7% of their max health whenever they use a basic ability. This can't trigger more than 2 times before their next turn and is disabled if Echo is defeated. Now, look at all of the different abilities that we've seen so far, especially with Echo. It's a follow-up with a basic ability. It's another unique ability that gives health based on a basic ability. Going back to Cody here for a second. His lead ability recovers protection with a basic ability. So I think you have an idea now about what the theme of the clones is. It's going to be basic attacks and trying to maximize it. And that's where the 212 attack comes into play. Now, your squad is going to need to be 4 clones in particular. Cody, Echo, Fives, and Clone Sergeant. Your 5th person can kind of rotate a little bit and will go into your 5th squad, but this is kind of a breakdown of what really happens with the 212 attack. So, starting with the left, you're going to have Cody in the lead position. Now, Cody's basic attack, and the one thing to keep in mind before I move forward, if you look at the 212 attack, there are certain special abilities that also on SWGOH.gg will list a certain amount of damage that the ability does. This one actually does not. This one will actually call all clone allies and a random ally to assist, which means even Cody is considered an assist on this attack. So in the 212 attack, Cody is actually going to be using his basic. So he too can get the benefits of the basic ability bonuses that you get with this clone squad. Now, Cody's basic attack will give him 20% turn meter. He also has a chance of gaining an additional 20% turn meter if the target is above 50% health. Now, this is important because a clone attack really works its best when your AAT is above 50%. So this is a squad that you'll need to make sure that you attack with early in the phase, depending how your guild runs it. If the AAT is below 50%, then you're going to lose this 20% turn meter, and that's going to greatly reduce the effectiveness of this attack. The other one is that you gain 20% if the target is less than 50% turn meter. Now, this helps when you topple the AAT, and you'll see that because when you topple, the AAT goes down to 0% turn meter, which means that your Cody is going to be getting this extra bonus at the beginning phases of the topple. Now, as the AAT gains more, you're going to lose that, and it's going to speed up. But those initial few attacks, and it's a lot more than a few, but you'll see that the clones actually do a lot more right at the beginning. In addition, he'll gain the 5% protection, and he'll gain 7% health. The other thing is that if he crits, he has a chance to reduce this 212, the 212 attack ability, reduces cooldown by 1. Okay, and since he's using a basic attack, you can also trigger Echo's unique ability, which has a 60% chance to call Echo to assist. So you see that just this one attack by Cody does a lot in terms of gaining turn meter and getting another basic attack up. Now the next one is going to be Echo. Now Echo's basic has will give 20% turn meter to a random ally below 50% turn meter. Now, if you're giving this to Cody, right, so let's assume that everybody else is getting full on hit points, and then Cody ends up going with his 212 attack. Cody will then be the lowest person. Echo is going to attack from the 212 ability, and then give Cody 20% turn meter. If the AAT was above 50% and had less than 50% turn meter, Cody now gains 80% turn meter on his basic attack. Okay, so it's a really nice ability to go along with Cody. Now, it is a random ally less than 50%, so another clone could get this, but you want it to likely be Cody, because Cody is going to use his 212 attack, lose all of his turn meter, and will be one of them that will have no turn meter left. In addition, since it's a basic attack, he will recover 5% protection, he'll recover 7% health, and a chance to reduce that 212 ability cooldown again if he crits. Next, we'll go to 5s. Now, 5 is really important because of his slow ability. You really need to make sure that when you go into the topple of the AAT, that the AAT is slowed, as well as all of your clones get the Morale 2 buff, and the Morale 2 buff is what gives all of your allies or your team an increased speed bonus. So when you combine the slow on the AAT, plus the turn meter gain that you get from all these abilities that we're going over, plus you get the speed bonus from Morale 2, you have 3 things that really help to do a lot of damage during the topples, which is when the clones kind of do their massive amount of work. With the slow also, remember that 5s has the ability to double tap. So if something is slowed, he has a chance to attack it twice. And then also, that's 2 other chances to reduce the cooldown on the 212 attack, because those are both basic attacks. In addition, he will gain 5% protection and gain 7% health, with 2 chances to call Echo for the 60% assist. So 5s ends up being one of those clones that's really crucial for this, because you really need that slow in order to kind of get that topple to really do a lot of damage. Next one is Clone Sergeant. Clone Sergeant, typically known for his AoE ability that takes away turn meter. The AoE can come into play here in order to bring down a lot of the guns at the same time, so you can do the topple and get that Morale 2 bonus. But more critical is his basic attack. His basic attack will gain 50% turn meter on a crit. Now this is similar to the mechanics of droids with an HK lead, but this is with just a single clone, and he's important because if you can get him to crit, every time Cody uses his ability, clones are just going to gain 50% turn meter, which is a lot of turn meter to gain for kind of a secondary character in terms of their abilities. If you focus him on crit though, he can get a lot of extra damage. He does get bonuses with his unique to crit damage and crit chance. So Clone Sergeant is really helpful in this position. And because you need to focus him on crit anyways for the turn meter gain, he also has a chance to reduce the 212 ability and call Echo for an assist. So far we have 4 clones listed here: Cody, Echo, 5s, and Clone Sergeant. Now we have the 5th spot. Now the 5th spot can rotate a little bit. You might consider Rex in order to make a full clone squad, he may not be the best one. So let's go through some of the pluses and minuses of some of the more common characters used in that 5th spot for a clone squad. So the first one is an Ewok Elder. Now the Ewok Elder has a 10% turn meter gain on his basic for non-Ewok allies. When you add that with the potential of a 90% or potential for the 80% turn meter that you could gain on Cody, if Cody is the least turn meter and Echo gives it to him with his basic, that's 90% turn meter that Cody is going to get. So this could be a potentially fast attack, very voluminous attack in terms of getting a lot of basics, getting a lot of 212 attacks because you're speeding up Cody. Ewok Elder's main problem though is his low survival. You'll be able to get a good amount of damage, but it may not be as maximized as some of the other suggestions here because of the fact that he doesn't really survive very much. Remember that the rest of the clones are constantly taking protection, constantly taking health, so they're not going to really drop, and if you do the squad correctly, you're going to basically go until the enrage. Ewok Elder may not survive that long though, because he will be taking the damage from the different guns at different times, plus he'll be taking the AoE damage, and outside of dispelling the dots off of himself, he doesn't really have a heal to keep himself alive. So that's the drawback of Ewok Elder. He'll fit into this group well, he has a position, but he may not be the best one. Next one is Rex. Now Rex is going to be hard to kill because he is a clone, so he will get the buffs that allow him to steal protection and health with his basic. He does have the ability to remove dots, and he gets a turn meter boost with his special, so he can speed up his clones. The problem with Rex, though, is that the turn removal from his basic is pretty much wasted because the AAT ends up being immune to that. In addition, his subdue, while it does the damage to the main gun and the side turrets, it does not do the 20 or 25% max health damage to the main AAT. It does a decent amount of damage, but nowhere near what it does to some of the other things. So his special ability kind of gets wasted, and those are kind of the cruxes of Rex. So if you don't have anybody else, Rex is a good person to put in this spot, but otherwise I would hold off on Rex. Leia is another one. Leia has the ability to give all allies the crit chance buff with her basic ability. And this is helpful because obviously this is based a lot on crit in order to reduce the 212 cooldown. And with the triple basic, it has a chance to call Echo to assist a little bit more. And key thing is that Leia has stealth. Now stealth will prevent Leia from being targeted as a single target by the cannons. Only through the AoEs of the main tank will Leia really get hit. So those are her benefits. Her negatives, though, Leia with this clone squad ends up being a lot more useful in Phase 4 because there is a particular part in Phase 4 where there's an airstrike, and any target with that, or any of your team that doesn't have a buff is going to be taking massive damage. So Leia helps to kind of keep that. She may be a character, even with a different squad, like a Rebel squad, you'll want to save for Phase 4 because she is very useful in that phase. The other thing is, you'll be wanting to get crit chance anyways on your clones in order to have a more consistent attack. You don't want it solely reliant on the buff from Leia being there, especially with how fast your squad is going to be going. They may end up running out the buffs and those kind of things, so you will want a high basic crit chance anyways, so the buff that you get from Leia may potentially just be overkill. And of course, the triple attack that Leia gets is subject to RNG, and RNG is random number generation, which is just the back-end coding in terms of giving a random number in order to assign whether or not Leia is going to single tap, double tap, or triple tap. So with that RNG, Leia is not a bad person in this squad. I think I would take Ewok Elder over Leia. However, Leia is going to be better in Phase 4, so I would save her anyways. Lastly are the two that may end up having the most success with the squad. Jawa Scavenger and Dashka. Now these two specifically, because they have the ability to stealth, and because they can stealth, they're not going to be as targeted by the main cannon or the side turrets. So they're going to have increased survivability. But also, remember that Jawas in the AAT get a special buff It's only going to be valid in the AAT, and that's whenever they use an ability, they will call an ally to assist. And this will happen with any ability, which means that Jawa, Scavenger, and Dashka, if they're put into the 5th spot, will call a clone ally to assist. That means they're going to use their basic attack, and all of their basic attacks have something that really is beneficial. Whether it's, let me go back a little bit here. So looking at this. So look at all of the different benefits you can get with the Jawa using any ability to call a clone in order to do a basic attack. Clone Sergeant can gain turn meter on a crit, so he might go earlier. Fives can put a slow, or he can even double tap if it's already slowed to do more damage. Echo will give turn meter to any ally below 50% turn meter. Cody has a chance of gaining up to 60% turn meter based on the scenario of the attack. So you can see that getting a Jawa into that 5th spot is going to be helpful. And the fact that you can get one that can stealth, like Jawa, Scavenger, or Dashka, helps even more, because then they're not going to be targeted and they'll be able to survive even longer. The negative, though, they'll still take damage from the AoE, so they're not going to be invincible, but they can avoid a lot of the damage. And then also, they have no dispel for the dots. Now, the only one this really affects is going to be the Jawas, because the clones are going to be able to heal themselves both in health and protection. So it's mainly just going to be making sure your Jawas can stay alive. So, what are the different RNG things that you want to look at during your attack? The first thing is, like I mentioned, the AAT has to be above 50%. If you don't have it above 50%, you're going to lose that 20% turn meter gain for Cody, and that's going to greatly reduce the effectiveness of this attack. Okay, so this is one that you have to make sure you attack early in the phase of whatever your guild schedule is. You have to attack it early. Survival of the 5th character is going to be important. If that 5th character dies, you're losing an ability that really helps to augment this team. Whether it's Ewok Elder giving an extra 10%, whether it's Leia giving crit chance, or whether it's one of the Jawas that are in there that's giving an extra attack every time they attack. Okay, so survival of the 5th character is key. A character with a stealth is really nice as well. So Jawas may be the best here, specifically Scavenger and Dashka, because they can stealth, but that assist ability also makes Jawas a little bit superior. One of the RNG things, though, is going to be Echo's call to assist. Now, Echo has a 60% chance to assist a clone and a 30% for a non-clone. So there's always a chance that he may not be called. On the 212, because you have 3 other clones attacking, chances are that he will be pulled at least once. So you're in a good scenario there. But the other thing is you want to always kind of check to see if maybe you got bad luck and Echo didn't pull as much as he could have, given more turn meter around. So that's going to be another important thing also. And then lastly, the potential calls to assist of the 5th character. And that goes back to what we were discussing. What is the benefit of the 5th character when they get called to assist? Do they give turn meter, like Ewok Elder? Do they end up just not dying as much, which is the scenario in Rex, because he can steal protection and health? Are they going to give crit chance buffs, like Leia? Or is it going to be calling another assist, like with the Jawas? Okay, so kind of putting that together and whether they're actually going to call and how that all works is important. Not to mention that the 5th character, if it's not Rex, is only going to have a 30% chance to call. So you're also going to change the call rate of Echo for this. Okay, so keep all of those in mind. Now, with that kind of as the backdrop of how this clone attack works, let's look at how you want to mod them. Cody is going to be all about speed. Now, you really need to make sure you get him fast, because you want him to gain that 10% turn meter potentially with Ewok Elder, or 20% turn meter with any other character. You want him to gain that as fast as he can, and with the slow tank plus a speed up on Cody, it can really help. So speed is going to be important for all of these characters, obviously, but more so with Cody than anyone else. And if you're looking for a particular mod to kind of farm for this squad, consider doing the Crit Chance mod challenge. You'll see that all of these guys are going to require Crit Chance and speed. Okay, and Crit Chance we went over is because when you crit, when Cody uses his 212 attack, it reduces the cooldown by 1, which is going to be the most important part of this attack. Now, with the Cody lead, the allies get 30% crit chance, which means that you're looking at the need of about 70% turn meter in order to guarantee, or 70% crit, I should say, in order to guarantee that you're going to be gaining, reducing the cooldown in order to forcing another 212 attack. However, even something 50 to 60% in order to result in an 80 to 90% crit chance is going to do really well. So you do want to make sure you focus on crit chance, and if you can get fast crit chance mods, so that means crit chance set with speed secondaries and a speed arrow, that's a Mark 5 with 30 plus speed, that's what you're going to be looking for pretty much all of these characters. The best one should go to Cody, though, because he does need to be the fastest in order to call that 212 attack. And then the rest of them, with probably Clone Sergeant being the least need to be the fastest, because he gains turn meter on his basic very easily. So he might need to be the highest crit chance. Cody will probably need to be the fastest, and that's why I kind of put them in that order. And then once you get to 5s and Echoes, 5 needs to be fast, he also needs to have crit, but you also want to make sure he has some potency because he needs to be able to land that speed down, because that speed down is critical throughout this. Now you can always restart a match if you're not getting the slow as you need, so that is the one benefit of, that's why I have potency kind of listed as a third option here. But crit chance and speed, definitely important. And it's almost like a 1A and 1B thing. Not so much as an order of speed versus crit chance. But you need that crit chance in order to reduce the cooldown. So crit chance actually may be a little bit ahead. Same thing with Echo. You need that crit chance, at least around 50 to 60%, without the lead bonus from Cody, in order to make sure that you can help reduce that 212 the 212 ability. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the mods of a guildie, Knight Templar. Now, the videos that you're going to see are from Knight Templar. He has all of these clones. I do not, so he was nice enough to provide some videos. So I'm going to show you how he's modded his characters. I'm going to show you 2 different attacks. The first one is going to be with Ewok Elder. The second one is going to be with Dashka. And you'll kind of see the difference as we go through it. But again, remember that Cody you want as fast as possible. Clone Sergeant, you want to make sure you have a lot of crit. And if your crit is high enough, then you can start focusing a little bit more on crit damage. 5s need speed, crit chance as well. Crit chance is also very important. So you can see his is 59. And then also some potency. Okay? And then you have Echo. Echo is going to, again, need speed and crit chance. But you can also kind of move things around and just go with him however you want. And then that was 5s that he just showed, by the way. And next is going to be Ewok Elder. Now, each 5th character is going to need a little bit of a different kind of formatting in terms of what mods work best for them. So you can kind of play around with that. But again, crit chance, very important. You need that crit chance in order to reduce the cooldown. And it works for anybody that's using the assist, which is even a non-clone ally. So let's go with the first one, which is with the Ewok Elder. Now, I'm going to show you one topple, and then I'll speed up through the rest so the video doesn't go too long, because these attacks do tend to be fairly lengthy. Okay? And what I want to do, at least with the first one, is to kind of just show you what the general strategy is. So, you see Knight Templar here. The tank goes first. Now, you want to try and get a slow on some of these, and you want to bring down all 3 of those cannons as much as you can. Okay, so using an AoEs, trying to get all of these different things down. Now the 212 attack, you can see brings down that one quite a bit. Cody is back up at 80% turn meter. Everything is kind of going again. And you can kind of see the cycle. Now 5s landed the slow on the main tank. Now you're in really good shape. Now you just got to keep on burning through these things. And the turn meter gain on the clones is ridiculously fast. That the AAT's turn meter isn't going up at all. So you can see how quickly this is kind of working out here. Okay, so we're at the point now where Clone Sergeant can take out that last one. He uses basic in order to get that 50% turn meter, and now watch the turn meter of the tank. look how many attacks the clones are going to get. Look at the turn meter of the tank and Cody. So you'll see that every time he uses the 212, Cody's turn meter goes up quite a bit. And right now that's because tank is above 50%, turn meter is below 50%, so he's getting that 60% turn meter from his basic. He's getting 20% turn meter from Echo, and then he's getting 10% from Ewok Elder. So he's pretty much constantly getting 90% turn meter and repeatedly using that 212 attack. Now, this attack started at 67.43%. So you can see he's already well past 2% at this point. He's already past 3%, or almost at 3% at this point. Now we're over 3%. And the AAT still has about 33% turn meter right now, and it's still going. Now, the one thing you can notice, though, about Ewok Elder is that Ewok Elder has no protection. Meanwhile, all of the other clones are pretty much full. So this goes to the survival ability that I mentioned before. And you can see Knight Templar is just wailing away on this AAT because there's really nothing stopping him. There's a slow on the AAT. You see the Morale 2 bonus, which is the little guy, the little buff icon with the 2 Roman numerals, and he's just kind of going through this. Now, in one topple, he pretty much did about 5%. Now, I sped it up here just so you can see. There's quite a few. There's another topple here, and he keeps on breaking this down more and more. Okay, and you can see how slowly the turn meter on the AAT is going. Okay, and the number of attacks that are just going on, and most of the attacks are because of the 212 attack. And because the 212 attack is just calling all of the allies, and there's so many basic attacks that help with it, the clones just keep on going. So we've now surpassed 10% with this attack. We're actually closer to 15%. And again, just doing the same kind of sequence over and over again. Trying to land that slow on the main tank, then burn down all of the other ones, slow down some of the side cannons also. Okay, and you see Ewok Elder is dead. Now, funny thing about this video, I'm sure you guys have noticed it already. Let me bring it back up here. There is a Chirpa just kind of hanging out. It was funny. He did this video for us, and again, thanks to Knight Templar for the videos about the clones. He did the next one also. But in this one, there's a little bug with Chirpa just kind of sticking his head up out of the ground the entire time. You'll see him right over Cody's shoulder there. It's pretty neat just to kind of see the bug the entire time and Chirpa just watching. But you saw that Ewok Elder died, and that kind of changed the whole dynamic of the fight a little bit. In addition, with the amount of damage that the clones did, and he started at 67%, the AAT is now below 50%, which means that Cody is going to reduce his effectiveness. Okay, so that was one of the attacks. That was with an Ewok Elder as the 5th spot. Now let's look at one with Dashka in the 5th spot. Okay, now if you remember, Dashka is a Jawa that has the ability to stealth. And because Jawas have an ability in the AAT that are specific to this, they can call a random ally to assist. And in this case, it would be a clone ally. And clone allies, like we mentioned before, all have major benefits to their basic that can help all different aspects. Okay, so that's going to be kind of the key. So we're starting off by slowing down one of the side turrets, bringing it down a little bit. Then we have the slowdown of the main tank when it comes to 5's turn. Okay, now this one was started by Knight Templar after another attack, so you saw that the dots kind of came early. But if you look at Dashka has lost the protection, but still has health, but is stealth, so it can't really be targeted in any other way. And every time Dashka attacks, it's a little minimal, but Dashka does have some health steal. So in the end, especially when it comes down to this topple, as you'll see here in a second, Dashka actually can recover all of his health. Okay, so we'll see the first topple here. Again, I sped it up after the first topple. But you see the damage is kind of going. Dashka is healing. And that health steal is more than enough to recover all of the health by the end of this topple. Now this attack started at 77.04%. Okay, so again, we're at about 1.5%. This attack is just kind of rolling along. And now we've gone over 2%. Damage is still going strong. Now the tank is over 50% turn meters, so Cody's going to lose that extra 20%, but this attack is still going pretty well. And the best part is, Dashka can call Cody and then fill up the rest of the turn meter. So that's going to be the benefit of Dashka or Jawa Scavenger, which is that they can call a random ally to assist. And if it's calling Cody, then you're getting a major benefit, because Cody can then gain turn meter and then use his 212 again. Okay, so we're at coming close to about 5% here with the first topple. Okay, now we're going to speed it up a little bit, just so you can kind of see the damage. Again, reminder that this started at 77.04%, and we got about 5% with the first topple. Okay, so this last topple wasn't as effective, but still got it down. Okay, so now we're approaching 10% here. And look at all of their healths now. Okay, so Dashka has full health. The other clones have full protection and full health. Dashka is also stealthed and took damage from the dots, right? So the dots are going to be what do the damage, the AoE from the main tank. But watch what happens during this topple with the health. Dashka healing, 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 and pretty much back, right? 75% attacking now, getting full health, and now Dashka's full again. Okay, and now we're approaching actually 20% in terms of damage. We're over 20% now. Got another dot off. Now the main issue with the clone attacks, okay, so I'm stopping it here. The main issue with the clone attacks, and it's not really a problem if you reach this point, it's actually pretty nice, it's that you're probably going to die from the enrage. So clones can go all the way to the enrage if placed correctly, and that means that once they get hit, they're pretty much going to die. Now this is a little bit of theory crafting. I haven't checked it, and I think a lot of guilds may not be able to do this, but in Phase 1, you could do a Kylo and repeatedly retreat and basically solo Phase 1 on your own. Now, while I haven't seen this tested yet, in theory, you could do this potentially for Phase 2 also. With Phase 2, you could try and retreat all of your clones and bring them back in. The problem is that it's a 40% chance to retreat, and then doing that, or 60% chance, sorry, to retreat, and then when you do this with all 4 clones, you're reducing the chances that you can do it. It ends up being pretty bad. Okay, so you're not looking at a very high probability to retreat all of your characters, but it is a possibility. I think it would be kind of fun to actually see it. Knight Templar actually tried it for us, and he managed to retreat all of them, but it wasn't a damage that he wanted to post in Phase 2 because he liked posting on Phase 4, like I mentioned earlier. So that was just a little bit of theory crafting in this tutorial also, just to try and see. There are some different RNG aspects to this. It's not too terribly detailed. It's largely just based on your basic attacks, and making sure that you distribute that slow by 5s as much as possible. Use the 212 attack to distribute it to a side cannon, and then use his own basic attack to distribute it to the main cannon, or to the main tank, and then you can start taking out all the other ones, like the left main and right cannon. So it's a fairly straightforward attack. It does require you to have the 4 clones that I mentioned: Cody, Echo, 5s, and Clone Sergeant. 5th spot can rotate a little bit, and you do want to make sure that you have good mods and increase your crit chance, because without the high crit chance, you're not going to reduce the cooldown enough to repeatedly do the 212. So that's the video on the heroic AAT Phase 2 with clones. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel so you can know whenever we update our channel with any new videos. Check out our website, realityskewegamers.blogspot.com. And definitely sign up and follow us on Twitter. We're trying to do more posts up there. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.